Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from Stoic Pool, and this is the first Catalyst Talk of Fund 8. And in this episode, we're joined by James from Maximum Mint and one of his partners, Joel, from the Pinnacle Group in Las Vegas. And we're talking about three proposals that they've put together. One is about cannabis, one is about international healthcare, and one is about the Las Vegas Arts District. They're all very interesting and kind of connected proposals as well. And this is a really, really cool conversation you definitely want to tune into. Let's get into it. All right, guys, I've got James with me now. James, you want to just say hi and introduce yourself quickly?
Hey, good morning, guys. My name is James. I am the stake pool operator for Maximum Mint with the ticker AMINT. And I have been just working on education and onboarding and focusing on the Las Vegas area, and we're doing really well. We have a lot of exciting news, and we've got some proposals that we've submitted, and that's why we're here today. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah. You have three proposals, and they're all quite different, aren't they? like some people have a couple of proposals that they do for one project, and what James has done is he's done the complete opposite. And you've got three projects that you're working on. There's a group of you, isn't there?
There is, yeah. We are with Pinnacle Group, and so I'll kind of give you my story about what we do. A buddy of mine, Fletcher Watson, who is actually part of Carpool, we've been getting together and creating these educational decks. We realized that the Cardano community is building at a very rapid pace. And so we figured, why don't we start to create awareness in the community for regulators, for city, for people that can actually start to utilize this. And that's what we've done. We've created these education decks, and we've been, educating in this arena. And we finally found a group of individuals and people in the city that are really interested in using this technology. And so that's where we're at right now. So we've submitted some proposals for funding, but we have a really advanced group that is, their specialty is to get these projects legitimized and regulated and licensed so that we can use them for local business here in Las Vegas. Our first proposal is a proposal for cannabis. We found a lot of interesting issues with cannabis utilizing the current banking system, and we've really scoped out a clear path on how to really help them with their business flow and optimize, growth in the industry, and maybe even there's just so much there, right? And so we found that opportunity, and now we're also looking at a city fundraising project that we're going to build for Las Vegas. And the plan is to use a token or an NFT, most likely a token, but this token will fund the arts district, and it will also fund local artists, as well as some city benefits that we're going to kind of build into the token as well. It's a really exciting time that cities are actually interested in seeing what this technology can do for them. And so we're excited to build in that project. And then the last one that we've submitted is actually our most robust, but we have a situation that a medical facility is looking to utilize blockchain to streamline their processes. It's not the standard hospital situation. There's a lot of depth there, but we know that Cardano, with how it works and what it does, can actually significantly improve this with their identification, their Atala Prism program. And so we're going to create a payment system for that, as well as a private identity system for that use as well. So we have a lot of really great projects, and we're really excited. We're looking to get that funding so we can start to do the R&D to pull these processes apart and then integrate, or at least run in parallel, the blockchain solution that Cardano has to offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting stuff, It's we'll break each of these things down individually, and we can go into a little bit of detail on them. But first off, when we first met, you were just starting these talks, weren't you, in Las Vegas? I remember you talking about them last year, and it's amazing to see how far that's come. right? Because now it's not just the talks that are doing something for you, but you've actually built a team from that. And that team is now building business solutions for people in the real world, based on the technology and what Cardano can do to help facilitate better business practices and management of data, right?
And that's exactly what it is. Our team, which is Pinnacle Group, consists of a group of attorneys, regulators, regulator advisors, researchers, people that have worked for the Justice Department, people that have pushed through regulation for crypto businesses in the past. And so we have all of the right people, and we're actually working with a really great team. And so at least a dev team as well that has shown projects in the Cardano space before. And now, so we have this great regulator advisor group, and then we have this really great development team in Cardano, and we're going to just push them together and get some incredible synergy. Our goal is to have Cardano as a token that is used throughout the city of Las Vegas. We would love to see, the use cases of Cardano come into Las Vegas and really aid the city in growth and development. And I really think we have that opportunity right now. It seems like the timing is right. The people are lined up, and now all we need to do is get those proposals funded and get to work. And we're super excited to do it. We're making a lot of plans every day on exactly how we're going to enroll this. Unfortunately, like I said, we have all the right people. We've got so much interest in the cannabis industry because there is a need. I guess their processes cause them to lose quite a bit of funding on a regular basis, or the funds, and the banking system is a real bottleneck for their use case.
They can only be run as cash businesses, is that right?
This is something that is slowly starting to change, but yes, they are primarily cash businesses. And so when you consider the deposit sizes these guys are making on a daily basis, and then
that's a lot of cash.
It is a lot of cash. I mean, we can estimate, there's lots of estimations out there, but I mean, Nevada alone last year in 2021 made $1 billion in business. So we're seeing there's a huge potential within Nevada alone. And if we can create a working model, then all cannabis will benefit from utilizing blockchain. And we have some solid ideas. We know that we can unroll them. We have existing use cases in the space, and we're prepared to build it out and really improve that process. I really think it'll benefit cannabis and become a beacon for business to utilize blockchain everywhere.
100%. I'm just going to pull Joel in now. So he's been sat here waiting. Joel, if you just want to quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll carry on talking about this cannabis proposal.
Okay. My name is Joel Keisner. I'm the founder and CEO of Pinnacle Consulting and Advisors. We're based in Las Vegas, Nevada, but we offer services throughout the U.S. and internationally related to compliance, regulatory affairs. We get into gaming. We get into traditional business, banking, AML, KYC type of work. There's a lot more I could go into, but that's kind of the shotgun approach to who I am. I had come from about almost 28 years of government work, and probably about a little over 4 years of private sector work, where I was a director of special investigations for a Fortune 500 company. And I met James trying to explore the tech space and trying to see where our services were needed. We identified a couple regarded to these proposals that we put forward for a catalyst.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, that basically highlights all of the relevant experience that you guys have, which you can kind of bring to the table, which I think a lot of projects are actually missing that kind of regulatory and legal standpoint. And I think that could be, it's something that will put you ahead of actually putting things out into the real world, which is really cool to see. So let's talk more about this cannabis proposal, right? We kind of covered why it's important, because there are lots of problems with the industry in America. But what is the actual solution that you guys are bringing forward?
James, have you already spoke on that, or you want me to start?
I was kind of talking a little bit about it, Joel, but why don't we give your side of it, and then we're still working on so much, so I just I'll let you go on that.
All right. Cannabis kind of struck me as a really unique opportunity, because what you have essentially is a black market product that got legalized through different steps. And right now we're kind of in this, I don't want to say purgatory, but it's kind of this dilemma where you're almost a gray market because you still have some illegalities technically from the federal side, but the legality and the decriminalization of it on the state side and the local side, it makes things a little more difficult. And what it did was it opened up a number of the cannabis businesses in a number of states throughout the United States, and it prohibited them to a large extent utilizing some of the tools that traditional businesses could enjoy. And there's been kind of a ongoing experiment trying to figure out how to make the business more efficient. And they're still largely stuck with mismatched inventory control systems and a largely cash only business that doesn't give them a lot of ability to change based off of the marketscape, doesn't give them a lot of disposable capital to explore new and better ways to become more efficient. And when I saw some of those things happening, I decided to take a look into not only the tech space where I met James, but into the cannabis space and other regulated spaces to kind of see where they're going with potential solutions. Banking is going to take something beyond the local level changes. It's going to take the federal government to do certain things that will open up more opportunity for traditional banking to get into this space. So I started looking at cryptocurrency and I started looking at blockchain. And while I realized they're separate, they're kind of tied to each other because what I saw was blockchain could offer an inventory control, lack of a better term, that could be more efficient and allow for more automation and capitalize in the business industry their ability to get more capital back. Because here in Nevada, what we're seeing is a reduction in the hourly wages for employees because they're having to offset the tax rate and a lot of the responsibilities they have for keeping regulatory compliance. And they're having to shave that money down for what they're paying employees. That's turned into, to some degree, a large amount of turnover. That's a wasted amount of money as well. So I thought blockchain makes sense. Let's get into using that to streamline and make them more efficient so they have more money in their pockets to do additional things. Here in Nevada, they're going to be onboarding within probably the next year consumption lounges. And those are going to be interesting. And it changes the dynamic of how they have to move product just to the facility, let alone within the facility from back of house to front of house. And then I noticed that the cryptocurrency could be a viable solution. And I was looking for the right type of exchange that made the most sense from a regulatory perspective. Largely regulators, and I'll oversimplify it here, they look at uncertainty and anonymity as an uncomfortable level to do business with in a regulated space. And when I looked at Cardano, I realized the unique way they've been designing their product over the past couple of years tends to support the regulatory space a lot more, gives a lot more control to the actual business, and could potentially have a lot more comfort that we could show to the regulators as far as anti-money laundering precautions, know your customer, regulative controls, and get us into a situation where we can start at the ground floor and make things more and more efficient. And what that does is open up the ability to get these cannabis companies out of cash, which is hugely risky and lets them do a lot of business with an inability to oversee the cash flows, a lot of loss from product and cash. It just happens in the cash business. And to give them more control over that, the finance angle from either the back of house, moving the money that's coming in if they stay cash at front of house, or giving them a solution for the front of house for point of sale would make them a lot more efficient and give them more control and allow them to move money within their business network easier than they are now. I know that was quite long, but I know you said you were going to edit that, so
I don't think I need to be honest with you. I think that was just it, wasn't it? We can move on.
Okay. All right.
So there were two things that really struck me there. One was the on license, off license thing, right? Where you were talking about, because as far as I was aware, and obviously I'm from England, so I don't have the experience like you guys do. But in the US, I thought it was just dispensaries. I didn't realize that they were transitioning into some kind of like on license where it could be like a pub or a cafe. Is that right? Is that somewhere that they're moving?
Yeah, that's where Nevada's moving. And I would imagine some other states with potential for that to open up, it'll happen. The dilemma that the state's having, and I don't want to speak for the Cannabis Compliance Board, but in a couple of the meetings that I've been to, it's a work in progress trying to set out the scope of how they're going to operate the consumption lounges. And I know I've mentioned it to James before and the group that we've been talking. One thing that blockchain and the inventory controls and the cryptocurrency opens up for the businesses is the ability to do marketing events and host events and games, like movie nights, different things at the consumption lounge so that people can come and spend a certain amount of time there and do certain things. And you could get into a situation where with marketing, you could mint NFTs to promote the event that you're particularly having. Maybe there's an artist that's coming who's going to perform there. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of unknown how they're going to unroll this. But right now, if they unroll it with the problems I'm seeing within the industry, especially where they're being hamstrung by the cash only business, it's going to be a lot more of a headache. And in some cases, probably more of a headache than it would be worth opening up the consumption lounge. So I'd like to make that a viable business opportunity by giving them some solutions that make them more efficient so they can implement that and not get into hot water is a good way to kind of explain it, because the here in Nevada, the Cannabis Compliance Board is used to a gaming control board environment. And the gaming control board in the state of Nevada is well entrenched, been around for decades. They know what they're doing. They're set up properly within the local government, the state government, and they operate with a lot of clarity. Where the CCB, Cannabis Compliance Board here in Nevada, is different, is that they are new and they're still learning how to regulate, how they want to regulate, how can they regulate without having a negative impact on the industry while still maintain some of the controls they want to have. So there's a bit of a head scratching moment. They're looking for guidance and solutions. And the situation literally is where the companies, the cannabis companies, are so tight with disposable income. There's not a lot of opportunity they have to show the CCB, we can do things differently and give you the same ability to regulate this industry, but make us more efficient. And that's what we're trying to do with these proposals, is get the catalyst funding so we can give them some of those options. Yeah. And then we can show that there's a better way to do things.
Yeah, awesome. James, is there anything you wanted to add in before we move on?
Yeah, no, and this is really the key of our opportunity, is realizing that there are options out there that we can start to utilize to refine business models. I want cannabis to be an echo chamber for what blockchain can do worldwide and business to business. These efficiencies that we can allow cannabis to utilize can translate into almost all businesses. And so this is going to be a really great test pilot to kind of unroll these applications and let these processes fold and look at the benefits that this type of system can employ. We've been working on this, or working for this moment, for quite a long time, and this is our opportunity. And cannabis is going to be a very large industry that we can show the world what Cardano can do and what these blockchain networks are really all about, because they are all about streamlining and improving business, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think one thing that the cannabis industry is really good for is the opportunity for an in. for crypto, because a lot of things, like you're saying, already very well established. They have their standard operating procedures. They have the way that all their infrastructure runs. But because cannabis has, if the industry is different at the minute, you have the opportunity to come in and bring the innovation into a space that needs it and provide a solution from the ground up. So I think it really is one of the kind of perfect opportunities for people like you guys to step in and kind of bring that innovation, right? That's how I see it, at least.
I think you're absolutely right. The reality is that I didn't want to come into the space and be Chicken Little and talk about how the sky is falling, it's going to happen someday. And what I was seeing, because I have, like I said, we do international work, and I've got a business partner in London, and I watch what London is doing, what EU is doing. And there's a lot more clarity related to cryptocurrencies and traditional business. Yeah. Like the FCA in London has, lack of a better term, whiteboarded or whitelisted a couple of exchanges that can do business within traditional business models. Here in the US, it's been a lot of vagueness, a lot of standby to standby, and that brings uncertainty. So I saw that happening, but I didn't want to ring that bell, because like in cannabis, the industry is already strapped for opportunities to expand in certain directions. So what I looked at was streamlining performance, making it more efficient and giving them more opportunities. That allows us to get into the space and start to give the ground floor guidance for what's going to be coming. And then last week, the president put out an executive order, not a lot of clear guidance other than the fact that that's the direction the government wants to go, which means there's going to be more eyes on target. And now with what's happening in Ukraine, there's a lot more microscopic review of where things are in the crypto space. And you see the demonstration of how events in the world are going to kind of push the United States into more of a regulatory environment. The SEC and through FINRA, they issued a proposed 600 some odd page document where they were going to try and guide some sort of oversight in the crypto space. And they hid that within a small section within that big proposal. It'll probably never see that form, at least I hope not, but it's still an operation that we can work within, because it's still traditional banking. The Banking Secrecy Act here in the United States, there's a lot. If we just overlay that with crypto, it'll work. And you just have to have the right exchange. And to me, Cardano seems to have the right things at the right time and the right place, where we can have that discussion with things like gaming control boards and cannabis compliance boards and other non-traditional but still viable business models in the US.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect opportunity, and I really want to do whatever I can to help you guys get funded for these kinds of things, because it's not just you and the cannabis industry that will benefit from that can have an impact that rolls out across the whole of the US. So it's kind of important that we get the ball rolling on that, and you guys seem to be a pretty well experienced team with the right kind of reach to be able to implement it as well. It's not just like a pipe dream. Oh, we could try this. It seems like you guys have a lot of experience in the relevant industries already, So I wish you all the best with that, guys. How much are you requesting for funding for this proposal?
For this particular proposal, for this proposal, we are asking for 150,000. This is a large amount, usually comparatively with the proposals, and we do understand that, but we are kind of like paving the path for the future onboarding of all businesses. And so we know that the licensures are going to be expensive, the processes, the investigative meetings. There's a lot of development that we have to do. we're getting ready to go into a dispensary to model their processes, their current processes, and then take that model and then build in a crypto parallel system. And we're going to be running that parallel system for a time until we can start to make sure that we're meeting all the audit requirements, making sure all the licensures in place, and making sure things are not gamified and stable. And then once we do that, this is, like I said, this is something that we can template out to everybody. Yep. So it will take a bit more funding and time to get this done, but I think it's going to be worth the effort. These are, like I said, these are the seeds that we're planting now that we'll see fruit from, and everybody will be able to benefit from what we're setting up now.
Yeah, absolutely. It can seem like a bit of a scary number, I guess, but the truth is it's not really that much money anyway. Like maybe in the context of some of the previous Catalyst funds, that seems like you're asking for a lot of money. But considering all the work that you guys are actually doing and looking to do, I mean, it's probably just about the bare minimum that you could get by the next couple of months with. Let's be honest, right? Stuff's expensive. Right. Perfect. So that's the cannabis proposal. Let's move on. Because we're on this kind of subject of infrastructure and the regulation and stuff, let's talk about international healthcare next. Right, because this is another proposal that you're putting through, which can have a huge impact on the world. And so let's kind of talk about that. Who wants to introduce that?
This one's actually Joel's. Yeah, let's get that to Joel.
I'll take this one. So this one, we actually have an interested client onboarded that wants to explore the blockchain. And what they have is they have a unique model. And there's certain things I can't get into discussion related to the model that they're using. But if in a overbroad sense, if you think of medical tourism in that individual sense, people have been traveling for medical care for quite some time because it's cheaper, especially here in the United States. You're looking at probably a knee replacement being in the range of $60,000 to $70,000. You can go to an accredited hospital outside of the United States and pay considerably less, usually less than $20,000 US dollars, to have the same surgery and get the same aftercare. So that translates into a considerable amount of savings. This company operates for businesses, high net worth, and like consulates and some of the NGOs, non-governmental officers that are around in different countries. And right now they're largely here in the United States, North America, and have a huge footprint in South America. So Mexico City, Colombia, places like that, and are expanding over more towards Africa and the Asias with this business model, because the medical tourism in like Thailand and Vietnam has been around for quite some time. So what they've realized is they have an issue with controlling data, their patient records. They have people that are, like I said, NGOs or other folks that have to have anonymity. They have to have some sort of security with who's treating them, what records are getting out. And right now they're stuck with handing everything over to a doctor. HIPAA does or does not apply, depending on where they're at. And then they have to carry cash around to make the payments at some of the particular locations where they get their treatment. I saw this as something I presented to them was, look, with blockchain, we can streamline and give you individual control over the data within the records, which would make things a lot more efficient. We could scope it out to each individual regulatory pool you're swimming in. So what country is this actually in operation? And then if we can get away from cash and do something along crypto, not only is it audible and traceable just from a regulatory standpoint, now you don't have your clients running around in a different country with bags of cash to pay a doctor or a hospital. And from security and from efficiency, it made a lot of sense. They saw it too, but they're in the same boat as cannabis, where they have some disposable income, but maybe not enough to explore the depth of this. And with Catalyst, I realized there's an opportunity for us to dig deeper. They're going to open their books up for us, already have the NDA in place. And then we would go in and we would sit and investigate. It'd be, lack of a better term, a gap analysis on the differences between what they're operating now and where we could take them. And then we'll be able to design a solution. In truth, what we're doing is going to be components of some of the stuff we're already working with in cannabis space, because we get the right point of sale or cash transactional process solved within cannabis space. We're going to be able to pick that up with some tweaks that are going to match the healthcare industry responsibilities they have and lay that down for them over there. And we would have an ability to move from one client to another with a little more ease because we've already got one built in one space. So I think we're asking for 50,000. Is that right, James, on this one?
Yeah, that's
and
correct.
That one's just, yeah, and that one's largely to cover travel because of the different, they're based in Florida and other countries as well. And then the legal responsibilities when we start getting into digging through regulatory frameworks. Where are we doing business? How are you covering these particular regulatory requirements? How do we need to cover them within the blockchain design that we're going to build potentially? And understanding that foundational need, we have to dig through their books. And so that's an investigative and travel related request on a catalyst. So we can design something for them that won't get them into regulatory violations or potentially losing licenses because they're doing things wrong if they implement something we didn't understand fully before we propped it up for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been very, the kind of geographical arbitrage for like medical services and stuff is quite prevalent in the EU. So it's something I kind of know about, but I've never really done myself. But it's very well known to like go to certain countries to get certain kinds of work done. Like if you want dental work, go to Bulgaria or something like that, you know? So this is like quite an obvious thing to me, you know, even though like I've never thought of it, but it's quite an obvious solution, right? Where things can be implemented. It can offer some kind of, like you're saying, regulation, some KYC, you know, like, are you planning on integrating this kind of thing with Atalo or anything like that? That have some kind of zero knowledge information sharing or something based around medical data?
Potentially. And the reality is we have to take a look at how they're operating, how they're sharing it.
Yeah, because sorry, I'm not expecting you to have the solution now, but I'm just thinking about where the project's going, right? Because that's what this is essentially for. It's figuring out the solution.
Right.
Yeah, so the Atalo Prism identity solution with Cardano is actually one of the reasons this project becomes possible, because being able to utilize that particular model and privatize their data while sharing medical components to the physician with the ability to retract that data at a later time is critical. Because just like Joel said, when these other countries just don't have the same standards or data protection standards in place that we do, but we still want to protect that data. And so without Atalo Prism and the identity solution, this wouldn't be as clean of a solution as we really have to offer. And so when you couple that with being able to send payment through blockchain and not have to carry cash, and then protecting the individual's data, and these are high-end individuals that want to protect this data, crypto clearly offers that solution, and all we have to do is put the pieces together and roll it out and try it. So the technology is there now, and right now we have all of these wonderful Lego pieces, and we're just looking at all of the potential. And as you can see, you know, we've got fundraisers for cities, we've got hospital, international hospital capabilities, and then large business that handles, billions of dollars per year. That can start to look at this technology and say, wow, I can use these Legos in my environment. I can use this component. And so it's just going to be exciting to see what pieces and Legos that other businesses will start to look at as far as smart contracts and tokenization and NFT and identity and governance and voting. Cardano has all of it. And so we're really excited to see all of these pieces come into play. One of the biggest things that we're looking forward to, and this is a big interest in the business community, is the stablecoin for Cardano. Because once we deploy JED, that's when we're going to start to see a lot more business come in, because one of our biggest concerns is receiving the token and maintaining that stability And we know, as developers and builders in the Cardano ecosystem, JED is coming out this year. And when that happens, this will reduce any concerns or barriers that businesses are looking at this time and kind of holding off on. And so the timing is right. Like I said, it's going to take us time to build all of these things. And then we have all of the new development coming out in Cardano as well. And so I really think there's going to be a perfect moment here where we've got the plans all laid out, and then we get our stable coin, and then we get our identity systems in place. And then the voting, gets more adequate for what we're doing. And we're going to see this synergy happen in the next year or two with Cardano, where every business will be able to utilize it. We've already made so many significant changes in the network and the speed and performance. I'm seeing them already. I don't know if you are, but I'm definitely seeing our network start to ramp up in speed and confirmation times and transaction volume, even with all of these new DEXs. And so we know we're robust. We know we can handle the traffic. And now we just need to finish those last modules so business can really start to take advantage of this blockchain.
One of the things the healthcare company keyed on that was interesting to them, they're in the process right now of expanding. They have some clients that are large Fortune 500, actually larger companies here in the US, and they're having problems with scaling their inventory, their control system now, their records management system now is having scaling issues, especially when you deal with moving from a client in the United States going to Colombia, or a client from the EU going to Mexico City. And then when they saw that they're going to be expanding into Africa and some other places where they want to offer more of the services to the general population, not just high net worth folks, they realized they had roadblocks with their current management system. And that's where, when I talked to James, the Prism made the most sense, where we can kind of try to implement that. But again, in order to understand fully what we're dealing with, we have to do that gap analysis to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, and give them a much more efficient, robust system so they can deploy their services beyond the scope where they're at now.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't, I know the proposal is about figuring the details out for that kind of stuff and just setting up the initial processes so you understand the scope of the work that needs to be done. But it's still really exciting, right? It's still really, and actually it will probably benefit you better, because when everything does really roll out and you'll have access to these tools, you'll already know what you need to do with them in order to provide functional solutions for people across the globe, right?
Right. And I think when you take a look at these three projects, and James, I think you'll agree with me on this component, that even though there's three different projects, they all are going to benefit from each other. Because when I look back at some of the Catalyst proposals, like James mentioned, they're smaller, piecemeal. They're different little modules that are being done. And what we're looking at trying to do is a solution for beginning to end. Implement a couple of things that already exist, develop some new ones, and make an actual solution proof of concept that has a whole lifespan. That we can come and plop something down at a particular client with a few tweaks and give them something they can hit the ground with running a lot quicker than we would be able to do before if we piecemealed everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. One really cool thing that I think is perfect for implementing this kind of solution is the temporary access to certain types of data, which is possible through Atala. And I think that's going to be something that you guys use quite a lot, right? Especially when you're sharing stuff with people on different continents, like medical records and stuff like that. You can, like James already mentioned, you can revoke access to that. You can have it exist for a certain amount of time and then disappear. So it's only accessible when it's relevant, and then it automatically goes, because I guess that could be a huge stumbling block in terms of trust with different entities to really, it kind of becomes trustless, right? You're not forcing people to prove that they've got rid of certain medical records, that they'll only access certain medical records or other private information for a certain amount of time. You can kind of force that behavior, which overcomes a couple of obstacles that I imagine you guys are going to face as you start to build this thing out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yep.
we're primarily in that development phase, like you mentioned before, and it can't be understated that this road has to be built out at some point. And if we can do it, which I believe we can, like I said, I think we have all the right pieces. The community will greatly benefit from all of this work. And so if we can really pave this road for everybody, I see Cardano moving at an exponential rate towards business adoption. And once we start to get the B2B solution, then we'll start to see that customer aspect, that retail aspect roll in. And so it's really exciting. Like I said, it's a timing thing. We wouldn't be having this conversation 2 years prior, and it would be too late 2 years ahead of the future. Right now is the perfect time to start to set up this roadmap. And as the newer pieces come in, we really start to run with all of this technology. So it's just the timing. Yeah.
James, you were spot on with that timing, because to just kind of speak about the timing, as I was exploring the tech space, kind of see where I could fit, and exploring the cannabis space to see where I could fit, what I realized all of a sudden is I had people from the gaming control board come to me and say, look, we want to learn. We want to understand what you're trying to do. We want to understand how we can implement this within the gaming space. So right now, separate, we haven't made any proposal because gaming is an entirely different beast than what we're dealing with here. I've got breakout meetings with some members of the gaming compliance board here in control board, here in Nevada, where we're teaching them. We're giving them little bits of information, and we're just getting them used to where things can potentially go. And that's going to be huge. So as far as timing being right, absolutely, because that kind of ties into our third proposal, which would be the NFTs, because that was based off of the same kind of thing I saw happen with the gaming control board, is where the city has been speaking with me through some of the representatives. These are some of the things we'd like to do. We just don't know how yet. And that is why we came up with the NFT proposal, because that plugs into those requests that we're giving from another governmental entity.
Absolutely. We'll actually transition into that now. So your third proposal is called Fundraising the Las Vegas Arts District.
Yep,
so
if you don't mind, Joel, I'll take this one. This one's a really exciting one. It's near and dear to my heart. I am a bit of an artist myself. And so, and we all know Cardano is a community-based project. It is about empowering individuals to utilize this technology. And the Arts District project for the city of Las Vegas is really exciting, because we're looking at a situation where we can create a symbiotic relationship between artists and the city and the owners of the token. And so it works this way. We're planning on creating a token or an NFT, and I believe it'll most likely be a token, because we want to do a lot of back end things, and tokens just have more data space on the back end. But we're going to create a token system where artists can upload their art, and it can be stamped on a token. The token itself will have benefits for the city or from the city. And also there'll be a partial royalty in there that goes to the city for funding and development in the arts district. And so we're looking at a really unique situation that we've never seen before, where this project can support local artists and help them generate a revenue by allowing their art to be sold, and they receive a portion, where the city can also receive benefit as it receives money for that token. And then, like I said, the holder of that token can receive city benefits. It could be, we don't know exactly what those will be. This will be what the city decides, but it could be sponsored benefits, discounts on certain things, discounts or free parking, access to certain events that most others wouldn't have access to that would be paid for. And so this is my favorite project, because it is like the rainbow of what blockchain is all about. It's about creating these scenarios that even an individual can earn on top of a city that needs funding, on top of development, and it's all community driven. And these are systems that, if we were to proliferate throughout the world, the world would really look like a different place. We wouldn't see these monopolies or these large corporate structures controlling what cities or individuals could do. We would see a more individualistic environment where the people choose and the people support. And I think we've already seen that, in this war effort, that people are, they're choosing to support, countries by sending them crypto. Nobody can stop them from doing that. And this is the same thing. The people of Las Vegas will have an opportunity to utilize blockchain and fund their city and support an artist. And that's just a wonderful thing, that we can automate this process and it starts to, have this symbiotic relationship. I just love that about blockchain. I think it's fantastic.
So let me just ask a question. Oh, sorry, Joel, go ahead.
No, go ask your question before you forget it.
I just wanted to make it clear that I understood what was going on, right? So you're basically creating a mechanism for artists to produce some kind of value for the local communities to participate with or like interact with in some form, whether it's an NFT or a different token, which then also supports or basically provides some kind of revenue for the city as well.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So sorry, Joel, you crack on.
Yeah, no worries. So one of the things I do within my business is called crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED. And to kind of pull a segment of that out, what a lot of local governments do is they have downtown art projects. They have mural projects. They have downtown cleanup and revitalization projects to kind of, put in more efficient waiting areas for buses, more types of transportation opportunities like pedal bikes and e-bikes, and cleaning up the areas, offering more services for the people downtown, and places like Tampa, places like Philadelphia has a huge arts project that's sponsored by the city. New York City has different prop-ups depending on what borough you're in. They have different levels of how much they get involved, and other countries. Nevada is no different. There is a downtown arts project and an urban development project that's already existing. And they try and support the local community. And within that community, there's an arts project that's not has any government involvement, but that exists within its own microcosm. They're already creating NFTs for themselves inside that environment. They're already trying to prop up and make their community more successful. And we're in my discussions with the city, their dilemma is, well, we've seen other cities prop up with tokens or NFTs. We don't know how. We want to support this downtown development, but we don't know how. And I started talking to them about, look, what kind of funding do you have? How can I help you design an RFP? And let's put something out there where we could have some people kind of compete with it. And then through meeting James and through these projects with cannabis and with the healthcare, I realized Catalyst is an excellent opportunity because off of what the city is talking about. I have two opportunities. I can wait the couple of years for them to figure out ownership, figure out the RFP, get the funding, get everything done, and may or may not end up in the right situation. And I'll tell you right now, what government does is they go towards lowest bidder, which doesn't 80% of the time, you don't get the best product coming out of it. And what the Catalyst allows me to do is leverage this experience, build something. The NFT process we could build would be something that we could tweak and make a little more special for cannabis and change for other different industries we could kind of get into. And that's why I said all three of these are kind of interrelated, because we're going to be able to give the city an opportunity to jump at something that they could use to prop up more successfully their interest in building the downtown and especially the arts project area without having to force them into the discussion of how they're going to pay for it on the upfront. And we can design it for them and give them that solution quite easily, I think, when it comes down to being useful, and have it complement what is already happening in the arts district and make it more successful here in Nevada.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I think, like you say, a lot of communities are already doing this kind of thing with NFTs as their own kind of funding mechanism, or as a way to help support people in these areas, right? And I think bringing the kind of regulation, bringing the councils, bringing the kind of government organizations or NGOs into play help just streamline the whole process, right? I think I used to do a lot of graffiti when I was younger. And so I've been involved in some of these kinds of things in the past in Cardiff and in and around London and Brighton. And so I already see how these things come, like how big community art events and stuff, how much kind of attention they attract and the influence and effect that they can have on the communities as well. So creating like a complete package that has the whole system is here. Now we just need to implement it across different communities. Means that once you get this running, it'll be easy to scale across the whole of America, other countries, other continents, and it can have a global impact.
And not just with the NFTs. If you have ever watched the news and you realize the inefficiencies in government well outpace the inefficiencies in private business. And so if we can start bringing efficient business practices and this NFT and the blockchain that we can bring to the city, I see expansion, not retraction, once we start showing them how they can pull back their funding requirements because they have a more efficient system, which would allow for more money in the pool of money they can give to build up services potentially.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this is the one proposal that kind of is the simplest, I guess, is the easiest way to put it, right? Maybe it's just from my personal experience that it makes sense. But this is the one that can easily be, you talk about this crossover between proposals, right? And this is one that it's clear to see that crossover and how it would affect the others potentially, whether it's as a fundraising mechanism or whether it's as a kind of marketing effort as well. And so,
I see it as a launching point to the other cities that are doing the arts projects, the downtown revitalization, the urban development projects, because it gives them a way to market a project. It gives them a way to track and quantify the success they would have and have an auditable path for the funding that they're going to put into a slush fund, lack of a better term, to help prop up that project, rather than where it's at now. It's, Scotch tape and bubble gum.
Yeah, this is the proposal that I didn't really get to have much of a look at before our call. And so it didn't really, like when I saw it, I didn't really just conceptualize it straight away. The other ones make sense how they would work and why they would be necessary for infrastructure. But this one is a much more obvious for communities of how it would work. And I think this is just as important as the other two, in my opinion, because it provides an in way for crypto and for this kind of immutable, like DLT, that digital ledger technology, into the real world. And so it can have a huge impact. I think it's great. This is actually the least money that you request, isn't it? I think this one's $50,000, right? And the medical one is 80, and then the cannabis is the most mostly because of legal fees, I imagine. I haven't seen the full breakdown, but that's 150,000. Yeah. Perfect.
There's a lot more development and a lot more planning that has to go in cannabis because we're trying to implement something that's functional that we can, implement within the industry.
And also it's a much more of a gray area, right? So it makes sense that you would need more money to kind of solve that problem. So yeah, I'm not questioning your judgment. You guys know how much you need, or how much you need to get by at least. So I think a lot of Catalyst proposals aren't tackling big problems, and you have 3, right? You have 3 huge problems that you're trying to tackle. So I really, anything you guys need me to do to help facilitate that, I'm more than happy to help. I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to support it.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
It. Yeah, this is the move. This is why we're here. We're here to build in better processes and more efficiency. And we believe shying away from the big problems isn't going to help anybody. And so I'm really excited to have Joel and his team with that experience and history behind them, that we can actually push these efficiency models forward. And it's I feel like we're kind of on the cusp. I mean, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been building this network for a long time, and it's really exciting. I feel like we're at the top of this threshold, and once things start to spill over, it's just going to turn into this waterfall of efficiency that businesses will be rushing into, and it's going to turn into a simple, question of what they would prefer to do. Both opportunities will be there: the current existing system and the way things go, or these systems. And it's going to be a stark difference when they consider how efficient the newer systems are. It's a knowledge gap at this point, and we intend to build that road to kind of fill that gap. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Before we close out, is there anything that you want to mention or that we haven't spoken about that you think is quite important when you should bring that up?
Just be looking for us. We're going to try to make this as public as possible. We'll be speaking on other podcasts throughout this week. I will also be speaking about this at Tech Alley on the 19th, Saturday. So I will physically be down there. There will be a tech event there, and I will have information on this as well. So we'd like to raise awareness. The goal is to educate the community on what we're doing and why we're doing it, and how this can help Cardano with mass adoption. I mean, truly, that's what we're looking at here. These types of scenarios, if we can get any of these things rolling, this means a significant unrolling for mass adoption for blockchain and specifically Cardano. So it's really great. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, guys, I wish you all the best of luck. Really, really thank you again for taking the time to come on and talk about this stuff. And I'll make sure to kind of spread the word about the proposals. Guys, all the links to all these proposals will be in the description below. So you check that out on your own time. You can reach out to me at any point for some assistance with that as well. Otherwise, guys, I'm gonna do the outro all separately, so you don't have to sit through me talking to the camera for 5 minutes. But yeah, thank you again so much. And if there's anything that you might need me to help you with, feel free just to reach out to me at any point.
Will do, man. Thank you.
Great. Thank you much.
Perfect. Have a good day. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. It was a really insightful talk with Joel and James. Definitely go and check out their Catalyst proposals. All the links are going to be down below, as you can find out more information about them. And funding isn't for a couple of weeks, but definitely register if you haven't already registered to vote, because by the time it comes around, it's going to be too late. So make sure you register to vote now if you haven't already, so that you're prepared for when the time comes. All right, guys, that's it for this video. If you like what you've seen, as always, give us a like, subscribe for more Cardano and Stoic videos every week. Leave any questions or comments you got in the box below, and go and comment on their proposals as well if you have any insights to share with them. Otherwise, I will catch up with you in the next one. See you then.